From chart-topping hits to a courtroom sentence, the story of Sean Kingston's fall from fame is making headlines nationwide. Once celebrated for his catchy hooks and sunny beats, the rapper is now headed to federal prison for over 3 years. The reason? A $1 million fraud scheme that prosecutors say wasn't just a bad decision. It was a carefully orchestrated plan. And what makes this case even more sensational is that it didn't just involve Kingston. It involved his own mother. This isn't the kind of comeback tour anyone expected, and the details are as jaw-dropping as they are sobering. Sean Kingston, whose legal name is Kingston Anderson, was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison, along with 3 years of supervised release. His mother, Janice Turner, already faced the music in July with a 5-year prison sentence for her role in the same case. Both were convicted by a federal jury in March 2025 on 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and 4 separate counts of wire fraud. These weren't minor charges. Each one represented a deliberate act to obtain high-value goods without paying for them. The investigation into Kingston and Turner revealed a scheme straight out of a Hollywood crime drama. Prosecutors say the duo targeted high-end luxury items. We're talking expensive watches, diamond-studded jewelry, a luxury SUV, and even a wall-sized TV that could rival a home theater setup. Instead of paying for these items, they allegedly used false documentation to make it look like the money was on its way. The reality? Those payments never cleared. The goods, however, stayed in their possession. This case didn't start quietly. In May 2024, a SWAT team raided Kingston's lavish rented mansion in Southwest Ranches, Florida. The raid was dramatic. Heavily armed officers entered the property, taking Janice Turner into custody on the spot. Kingston himself wasn't home at the time. Instead, he was more than 2,000 miles away, performing at Fort Irwin, a U.S. Army training base in California's Mojave Desert. But the distance didn't keep him safe for long. Authorities arrested Kingston shortly after his performance at Fort Irwin. Rather than fight extradition, he waived his rights and was sent back to Florida to face the charges alongside his mother. That decision brought him face-to-face with federal prosecutors who had spent months, if not years, building a detailed case against him. This wasn't a one-off misunderstanding, they argued. It was a deliberate pattern of fraud, backed by falsified documents. The government's case rested heavily on the claim that Kingston and Turner fabricated wire transfer receipts. These fake receipts were presented to sellers as proof that payment had been made, convincing them to hand over the merchandise. In reality, the transfers never occurred. One damning piece of evidence was a text message Kingston allegedly sent to his mother, instructing her to make a fake receipt so it would appear that the payment was in process and would clear in a couple of days. Prosecutors painted a clear picture. Kingston and Turner used these tactics to acquire more than $1 million in goods and assets without ever fulfilling their financial obligations. From luxury vehicles to custom jewelry, the duo managed to collect high-value possessions while giving the illusion of legitimate business transactions. This wasn't an isolated purchase gone wrong. It was an ongoing pattern that left multiple victims in its wake. The trial was surprisingly quick for a case of this scale. After hearing testimony and reviewing evidence, the jury took only about 3 hours to deliver a guilty verdict on all counts. The speed of the decision underscored the strength of the prosecution's case and the clarity of the evidence presented. When the verdict was read, Kingston's once bright celebrity image took a sharp turn into criminal infamy. Kingston's defense team tried to shift the narrative, portraying him not as a criminal mastermind, but as someone swept up in financial chaos beyond his understanding. His attorney described him as a soft guy who grew up poor when he rose to fame overnight, arguing that he had no idea how to run a business or even keep track of his own bank accounts. They attempted to separate the entertainer from the transactions, suggesting poor judgment rather than malicious intent. But the jury wasn't convinced. The combination of fake receipts, text message evidence, and the scale of the fraud left little room for doubt. While celebrity defendants often benefit from their public image, in this case, Kingston's fame may have worked against him. The contrast between his public persona and the allegations of behind-the-scenes deceit made the story even more compelling and troubling to those following the case. This federal conviction isn't the end of Kingston and Turner's legal troubles. Both are still facing separate state-level fraud charges in Florida, meaning the legal battles are far from over. Even after serving their federal sentences, they could be back in court defending themselves against a new round of accusations tied to similar fraudulent activities. For fans, the news is a tough pill to swallow. Kingston was best known for upbeat, feel-good hits that soundtracked countless summers. His music celebrated joy, romance, and success, the polar opposite of the grim reality laid out in court. The sentencing has sparked conversations about the pressures of fame, financial management, and how quickly fortunes can turn when bad decisions pile up. The broader lesson from this case reaches beyond celebrity culture. It's a stark reminder that fraud leaves a paper trail, and that no amount of fame shields someone from the consequences of breaking the law. For businesses, it's a cautionary tale about the importance of verifying payments and not relying solely on documentation that can be forged. For the public, it's an example of how even trusted public figures can make devastating choices. In sentencing Kingston, the judge emphasized the seriousness of the crimes and the deliberate nature of the scheme. The 3.5-year sentence, followed by supervised release, sends a message that wire fraud, particularly on such a large scale, will be met with significant consequences. Turner's 5-year sentence reinforces that message, making clear that all parties involved will be held accountable. As Kingston begins his prison term, questions remain about what comes next for the rapper's career and public image. Will he attempt to come back after his release? Or will this conviction mark the end of his time in the spotlight? One thing is certain: the story of Sean Kingston's rise and fall will be remembered not just for its shock value, but for the cautionary tale it tells, a story of fame, fortune, and the high cost of crossing the line. In the aftermath of the sentencing, media outlets across the country have been dissecting the case from every angle. Legal analysts point out that wire fraud cases involving celebrities often draw extra public attention, but the mechanics of the crime remain the same, whether you're famous or not. The use of falsified financial documents, especially in large-scale transactions, is a federal offense that prosecutors pursue aggressively. Kingston's case now joins a growing list of high-profile fraud convictions that serve as a warning to others. For the victims, businesses and individuals who trusted the fraudulent payment receipts, the damage isn't just financial. Some reported that they were misled not only by the convincing documentation, but also by the celebrity status of Kingston and his mother. That level of trust made it easier for the scheme to succeed. Recovering the stolen goods or equivalent value may take years, if it happens at all. In many cases, victims of fraud are left with losses they'll never fully recoup. Public reaction has been split between disappointment and disbelief. Longtime fans of Kingston recall his early career as a feel-good, motivational artist who seemed to rise above hardship. Social media, however, is flooded with memes, criticism, and debates over whether celebrities face lighter sentences compared to ordinary citizens. While some sympathize with his background and challenges, Others view the sentencing as a fair and necessary response to deliberate criminal activity. The sentencing also highlights the growing conversation about financial literacy in the entertainment industry. Many young artists rise to fame quickly without the skills to manage their income or the people they trust to handle it. Without proper oversight, it becomes easier for bad decisions or outright criminal acts to take root. Kingston's case is being cited by some industry insiders as a wake-up call for record labels, managers, and artists to prioritize financial education. As the prison term begins, Kingston's future is uncertain. Federal prison will take him out of the music scene during a crucial period when trends and public attention can shift rapidly. His ability to stage a comeback will depend not just on his musical talent, but on public perception and trust, two things that can be much harder to rebuild than a career. For now, the spotlight has shifted from the stage to the courtroom, and the story serves as one more example of how quickly fame can fade when the wrong choices catch up to you.